Welcome to It's a Grand Life. Did you know that in the United States alone, 2.4 million kids are being raised by their grandparents or other family members other than mom or dad? 2.4 million. It's a Grand Life is a podcast for those grandparents and kinship caregivers who are committed to making a difference for those kids. Grand families are in every neighborhood, every city, tribe, and territory nationwide. If this is you or someone you love, this podcast is for you. Our goal is to offer hope and resources to help you. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us wherever you get your audio podcasts and leave a review. Every new subscriber and review helps us reach others that need assistance. Welcome to another episode of It's a Grand Life. Hello, my name is Craig Nash. Hello, Marsha. I would like to welcome you to another It's a Grand Life. We're so delighted with Marsha Bauer. She's our guest today. And for you folks that don't know her, I've just met her, and it's just been a delightful time getting to know her. But remember, on Sunday nights, there used to be a great show on CBS called Touched by an Angel. And when I was thinking about Marsha Bauer being our guest here on It's a Grand Life, she is one of those angels that if she gets involved in a passion that you have or a subject that you're passionate about, things are going to happen in a very good way. And I've just heard so many wonderful things about you, Marsha, and the work that you've done. And we just want to hear about how did you get involved in supporting grand families and kinship caregivers, and what motivates you to continue to beat the drum for our cause. And welcome, by the way. So.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you this morning. I'm honored that anything I have to say would be important to someone. So to take you back a little bit, caregiving comes naturally to me, I guess you could say. I was an operating room nurse for years. I was a trauma consultant for an orthopedic trauma company. So it's been my life's work to care about people and their situations and their families and, the whole dynamic that goes along with it. So when it came time for me to retire, I thought, well, I better do something worthwhile.
Right.
So I began to seek out nonprofits and different groups that I could help. I've always been involved in my church, and so one of the things I became involved with was a faith-based organization called Gifts for All God's Children, and I still am involved with them. But through them, I met John Iris with Big Family of Michigan, who was a powerhouse. I mean, that man got things done, and he had the heart of an angel. And he was the one that introduced me to Lisa and basically said, I think we worked together on different projects. And he said, you need to meet her. You two could do good things together. So I had so much respect for him that I thought, well, if he thought that, whatever I do could benefit somebody else, or that, I could, form a partnership with somebody, I'm all in. And so that is the history of how Lisa and I came to work together. So I have been in the process for a number of years about being educated about the current status of the grand families and kinship care. And the rate by which that population is growing is alarming. And the fact that there's so little known about it by society is equally as alarming. So, I in church groups, and, I belong to a thriving community board, and through different ways that I have to get the word out, I do. But my primary work is working with them and working with the grand families and trying to find ways to help them and trying to find resources. And, and Lisa keeps me in the loop and talks to me about, changes in the laws, changes in protocols with her organization, and things we can do, things we can't do. And so I just take my guidance from her and work with the families as best I can. Going to a support group meeting for the grand families
Hmm.
is an experience.
Oh, yes.
It is, if your heart isn't open before you go, it certainly will be by the time you leave.
So you mentioned one thing, Marcia, I wanted to just touch base on that the fact that this area of grand families and kinship caregivers has really grown exponentially. Could you explain that a little bit for our listeners? I mean, how dramatically is this segment of our population growing?
Oh, it's incredible. Um, the amount, I think just in, and I hope I have my numbers right. Just in December, I think Lisa signed up like 78 new families. It's getting the word out, and now families are learning from other families about this resource, and or from other people who've become educated about it, and they're reaching out. The you know the latest uh, opportunity for the foster families to receive monetary support got the attention of some people, and some people have not previously been in a support group or understood that there were resources for grand families, have reached out. So the numbers continue to grow. But just from my experience, people in my general area that I try to help, the numbers grow monthly, if not weekly.
It's I've heard that nationally there's maybe 3 million kids that are part of the grand families or kinship caregiver situations. And that may be conservative. Does that sound about right?
Mhm, mhm.
I mean, it's
Well, and I think for every child in foster care, there are 13 children in grand family / kinship care situations.
wow. Yeah, I
It's
think
it's it's significant.
so there's 10,000 kids in the foster care program in Michigan. And so you're saying there's probably 130,000 or more in the state. If and that's probably pretty accurate. It's unfortunately with the growth of behavioral health issues and substance abuse issues, there's a lot of young parents that can't handle the task of raising their kids, and it's got to fall to somebody, and it goes more times than not to either relatives or grandparents of these, and no one's going to leave them uh, without any care, right? You're not going to leave your grandkids sitting on the curb. You're going to do whatever you can to give the best possible home for them. And however, I run into, and I'm sure you have as well, a lot of grand families where folks were just hoping to slide by into retirement. They hadn't really planned as well as they'd like to, and now they have 1, 2, or 3 extra mouths to feed, and it's overwhelming. And that's where you come in, and the groups that you work with, providing this additional support to folks that are just really struggling. And we just take our hats off to you. I mean, you just said when you sit in one of those grand family meetings, that like at Oakland Livingston, the Human Services Agency, it just touches your heart in a profound way. And there's such a need, right?
There's an incredible need, and everybody's needs are different. But it just amazes me how these people sacrifice. I have yet to hear any of them complain, and the sacrifices that they make are, most of us would be, oh, really? I have to do that? They much of the trauma, and I'm not talking necessarily physical trauma, it's more emotional trauma. These kids have PTSD, they have acute anxiety, they have separation syndrome, they have, they're like the dictionary for mental disruptions and disturbances, and the care for this, the grandparents never shy away from getting them help. They go to counselors, they go to therapy, they take them to whatever's needed: music therapy, speech therapy, physical therapy, um, family therapy, and much of this, it comes out of their pocket. There really is there's no option for them to have coverage, and the medications as well.
Right. It's not unusual to hear that a grandparents may have liquidated their retirement savings in support of their grandkids, and because if they just want to give them the best possible start, and of course that puts them way behind when it comes to covering their everyday needs in their 70s and 80s and beyond. It's just such a challenge. But how long have you been involved in the grand family community and being an advocate for us?
About 7 years.
7 years. And was this just a normal segue from what you were involved with at church and other organizations you're part of, or did you, once you identified this agency that was kind of hidden underneath the radar, it really touched your heart?
Oh, it did. I have two grandsons, now who are, almost 17, but when they were young, grade school age, I could not imagine. I could not imagine them being in this situation where they were abandoned by their families or shuffled around, in a situation where maybe there was an addicted parent and they were left alone, and, or had to sit in the car while their parents, did whatever it is they were doing, negotiating deals or, gambling, whatever it is. It broke my heart to think that, they could be in that situation as well. And it just really, it really tugged at my heartstrings that I was in a position to do something to help these people, whether it be, fundraising for them or, providing things for them that, that they needed, physical things, comfort. I mean, when I take donations, either, clothing, food, whatever it might be, to grand families, there's always a time of conversation and fellowship with them. And they're such wonderful people. They have hearts of gold and they never complain. And it really, they give me strength for my daily life, because I have nothing to complain about. Even if I have something to complain about, I have nothing to complain about. These people, and so many of them have faith like a rock.
Right.
And they face financial difficulties every day. I think Lisa is seeing more housing type situations with them that become crises, whether it's, having to give up their home because it's not big enough, or they can't make the payments, or there's a situation where, they can't rent because now they have children and they have to, and so a situation that maybe was stable for them becomes unstable because they have to seek out a new home. They have to disrupt the kids yet again. And then the cost is more. I mean, right now, everything costs more, and it's right. Hit them so hard.
It's been outrageous, the increased costs and inflation and everything else. And I know you're so passionate about this demographic that's really touching everyone in our country, but you're also pretty passionate about education, the need to educate folks on what's going on in the kinship care arenas. And how could we change that or make the subject matter more available to folks so everyone's aware of what's going on? Because, it takes really someone introducing you to this situation. I had no idea how bad it was until my wife and I became guardians of our granddaughter 2 years ago, and it's really an epidemic in our country. And
it is an epidemic, and I think educating people is the best. I mean, talking about it, talking to Bible study groups, talking to people at the gym, talking to people, at the grocery store. Both of my adult children understand a lot more about this situation than they ever would have known. And I don't think they're afraid to talk about it and to educate others and, to share things on social media. And, I think there are so many ways that we can do this, but, we have to educate so many people. The schools now are starting to see this growth in this population. And there are some schools that are becoming very proactive, and they've sought out education and help from Lisa to kind of guide them. So, that being said, that program is going to blossom and more people will know. So I think there are so many things that we can do, but there are so many people that we could get involved. So many of these grand families need financial counseling.
Right.
They need somebody to help them get their finances in order and how to budget and that kind of thing. Some of them don't even have bank accounts.
Right.
So, to bring other people that are like-minded and like-hearted into the fold to teach these people. A lot of them don't have IT skills. A lot of them didn't have computers.
Right.
We worked on some of those initiatives. I apologize for that.
Oh, that's all right.
So it's really kind of collectively determining what their needs are and seeking out some of those groups, of people to help. If some financial planning people could get involved, they could talk to potential donors about legacy planning, so that there is a nest egg for this group in the future, because it's not going to get any better. This group is going to continue to grow. There are more younger members. There are more people like under age 60 that Lisa is finding are experiencing this. So the age group, the population is growing. The age group is becoming more diverse. So we need to be in lockstep with so many resources that they need, and people that will give their time to spearhead some of these initiatives.
Well, when you share your heart for grand families and kinship caregivers with folks, with your peers or folks from your Bible study, your church, how is it received?
People have a lot of questions, but they're just generally the first reaction is kind of shock and sadness that this even exists in our country. And I think that people have a very skewed view of the welfare system, it's changed so much over the years. Right. And I think people still have ideas of the old system. Well, things are very, very hard to come by. I mean, applications get rejected. And sometimes people are afraid to enter that system because they're afraid they'll be scrutinized and the children will be taken away from them. And
absolutely.
So there's so many things to navigate, and the grand families need help with understanding it, and so do potential donors or people who could raise their hand and say, lawyers, paralegals, whatever, who could help these folks and, give them some counseling sessions. And I recently was in a Zoom meeting with Lisa and some of her peers, and they spoke to some of the grand families about respite. If you could have some respite, what would you do? And it was amazing to me. None of them said, I want to go on a 14-day cruise.
Right.
I mean, it was kind of like take a class or, visit some relatives, or, simple things that these people don't have the luxury of doing, that we don't even think twice about.
Right.
So thinking about some of those things and bringing more people into the fold, maybe having somebody donate some time, where maybe somebody who owns a spa or something could, bring some of them in or whatever. But, it's a huge job for, Lisa's organization to pull all this together, because they have to prioritize, their funds are very limited. And so, those of us that are beating the drum need to rally the troops
Right.
in so many different arenas.
I couldn't agree more. You brought up some really good suggestions. The financial planners with the legacy planning is a great idea, because it just grieves your heart when you see folks that have worked their whole life and they don't have a plan for retirement, and costs are continuing to escalate. And this respite idea, just giving folks a night out. Oh my gosh, it's just like it'd be like a B12 shot. It'd be just terrific for them, because what folks seem to forget is that these kids, they still go through the preteen years, and they still have emotions that go up and down, and they're having issues at school, and there's bully issues and what have you. And we had a situation where my granddaughter yesterday had a tough time with a teacher. She thought the teacher was being overly hard on her, so these are just real world kid situations that now you're dealing with 20 or 30 years after you had kids. And it's a lot of those parenting skills are a little rusty, and you have to be a quasi behavioral health specialist nowadays with everything going on in social media. And so, yeah, the respite idea is just like gold for a grand family parents. Well, I just want to salute you for the work that you're doing, and I hope that folks who are listening to this at home, that they will be encouraged. And if you're not supporting a grand family, boy, there's got to be a group in your community that you can become a part of, or you can talk to your folks at your church or your synagogue or your mosque and share, hey, we've got to do more than just hang out in these four walls. We've got to get up and get involved in the community and be a blessing to families. And it's all about families, and we all get it. We all have a heart for a situation where a child that life becomes too much for them, they get involved in substance abuse, or there's some behavior health issues, and it would be so great if we could get other Marshas out there serving and just loving on these families like you do, and really making a difference across our whole country. So, Marsha Bauer, thank you so much for being our guest on It's a Grand Life. You are helping families live the grand life, and you've been such an encouragement to me and to others. And I hope you will come back on our program often and share what is on your heart, and continue to motivate our audience to make a difference all over this great land. And thanks so much for being our guest today on It's a Grand Life.
It was my pleasure. Thank you. And I hope your listeners find some nugget of something in our conversation that maybe will spur some ideas for them and their friends to maybe make a donation or get involved or sponsor a family at Christmas or something. Anything these people would appreciate.
I couldn't agree more. There's even those little things to get started. That would be so good. But I think there's a lot of folks that aren't aware of the need for supporting grand families and kinship caregivers. And you really put a light on it today, and I really appreciate it. So we'll look forward to chatting with you again sometime very soon.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us today for It's a Grand Life. It's a Grand Life provides vital content, regulatory updates, and subject matter experts that are committed to supporting the 2.4 million kids and their caregivers from every neighborhood, every city, every tribe and territory nationwide. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts and leave a review. Every new subscriber and review helps us reach others that need assistance. As caregivers, we are united in purpose. We are driven by hope while providing strength for today and hope for tomorrow. We are truly making a difference while living the grand life. If you have a suggestion for a future episode, please reach out to us. But we'll see you next time for another It's a Grand Life. Thank you for joining us.